Quiet now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
What up, everybody? Wow, I know. It's the holidays. Everybody's jamming, slamming. Love it. Mark Thompson Show. I'm Mark. I've got to put my credibility glasses on. Hold on. Sorry, I get... Remember David Caruso in... Anybody watch Caruso in CSI? CSI Miami? It was the greatest thing. Tony, did you ever watch CSI Miami?
No.
Okay, so he... in fact, you can find this, Tony.
Thanks, Tony.
The opening sequence where Caruso is called in, you know, there's a dead body or there's some situation, he would either put on the sunglasses or he'd take off the sunglasses.
Well, I remember the meme of like,
dude,
I guess this, and they would play the music, you know, and
yeah, they
like that was a meme forever.
Exactly.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, it was so great, man.
Yes, it was.
Anyway, that's what I felt like as I put these glasses on. What's up in the chat? Who's here? Gil, Tiffany, good morning.
Morning.
Joe, Kyle,
Morning.
JR. What up, JR? Mike Garcia in Oklahoma. Come
Morning.
on. Yeah. I love that. Oklahoma. It's 17 below wind chill, he says, with lots of snow.
Morning.
Yeah. Good morning. It is crazy what's happening to us. And we warned you or told you about this. It wasn't just us. I mean, it was well advertised. This massive storm system, once in a generation storm, is what it was being termed and is being termed. But Jennifer is here.
Morning.
I'll give you more on that in a little bit. Scraggy51. What up, Scraggy?
Morning.
Good afternoon from Austin, Texas, says John Watson. Hey, John.
Morning.
Jeff and Ron, all of the kids, welcome. It's the Mark Thompson Show for Thursday. I will give you a program note. We will be doing shows through tomorrow. We've got, in fact, tomorrow, Friday Fabulous Florida, among other things. The Michaels will be here. Michael Snyder on movies. Michael Shore on politics and political analysis. And Jim Avila joins us on political analysis tomorrow as well. I also will tell you that Monday, of course, then there's Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. That's over the weekend. Monday, we will have a live show. It's actually my birthday. The day after Christmas is the worst. I guess you could have a birthday on Christmas. It might be worse.
That's the worst for birthdays because then you
It's
get no
pretty
presents.
bad, though. Yeah,
it's like the kids in August birthdays get the best stuff, right?
Exactly. Summer birthday is what you want. Now, when you're an adult, you don't care about the presents anymore. But you care about people.
Kid.
No, you care people coming to a celebration. Like we want to put together a lunch. Everyone's like, oh, I would, but I'm in 29 Palms. Oh, I would, but we're at Tahoe.
They're all
I would,
traveling and
so it's never anybody around. So anyway, but on the 26th, we will do a show. Bobby Slayton is going to join us, and Shadow Stevens, who does our announcing, he is going to join us. So that's, I think, going to be fun, and maybe we'll get some other drop-ins as well. So that'll be the day after Christmas. Generally, so you'll know something in media. And then I'm going to get to Zelenskyy. I'm going to get to David Katz, who's coming up today in the second hour. David Katz will talk about not only Donald Trump and the criminal referrals, but David Katz will also, I hope, I've been in touch with him via email, talk about this Dominion voting fraud claim that is meaning Dominion Voting is suing these huge media organizations, Fox News Channel among them, as you're aware, because they said that Dominion Voting perpetrated frauds. They are suing for defamation and real damages. I mean, you know, when you suggest that a company that tabulates votes is perpetrating a fraud in a major general election, you are doing serious damage to that company's reputation, and you're pounding that drum night after night, day after day on Fox News Channel, on OAN, on the other, right-wing crazy shows, and what you end up doing is damaging that brand. So there is real damage that is done. Now, what I want to ask David Katz about is not only that, but the part of the case that's harder, which is the defamation part. Apparently, it's just very hard to win a defamation case in the U.S. So I want to talk to David Katz about that as well as the Trump stuff. You see Tony with us today, and Tony is here. But Kim is coming. She is at a fifth grade play or third grade play, or it's a third-rate play done by fifth graders. I don't know what, but it's something. So she'll be here at 10:30. It's her son's thing. She's serving hot chocolate, and I thought there was a play involved, but maybe not. Maybe it's just a hot chocolate thing. Anyway, I don't ask any questions. I just say, sure, of course. You got to take care of your kid, please. Yeah. And Albert is not here today either. So, as you're aware, we try to get everybody when we can. Most of the time, people can make it all the time, but they can't. I'm so glad today is my birthday, Vivian says. Let me just see this. Today is my birthday. Sister's birthday on the 24th. January 4th, another. These all suck.
I'm with you.
Oh, yeah. Gets all wrapped up in Christmas. But when you're a kid, the phrase you are most used to hearing is, this is for Christmas and your birthday. Yep. You I'm telling you, it's of course it is. Yeah, of course.
Same for me, man.
Yeah. Well, when is your birthday, pal?
In January. So it's just about the same. Mine hits right when the credit card bills come for the Christmas purchases. So it's like, ooh.
Ooh, yeah, that's an ugly hit.
And me and my sister, same day. So it's like, oh, I lost my birthday anyway when she was born. It's the joke forever now.
So did she just happen to be born, or are you twins?
No, 3 years apart.
She was born on the same day?
Yeah.
That doesn't strike you as sort of an extraordinary coincidence, or not? It doesn't?
My cousin's the same exact day as me. Like, she was born that morning.
Wow. That's kind of...
I don't know. It's just what's normal, I guess.
I don't know, in any case. All right, let's get into some news, and I'm interested in your opinions on everything from Ukraine to... I'll mention... And this life expectancy thing, I think, is big news, but we'll get to that in a second.
The Mark Thompson Show.
The U.S. military aid to Ukraine, another $1.85 billion being approved. This is the total American defense assistance for them. They say $21 billion here, but I've heard figures, and you can do the arithmetic to suggest that it's closer to $100 billion. I think you can certainly do the arithmetic, and this is I really think the figure that you can work with is $50 billion. So again, that's not all cash. That is a lot of weapon systems. In fact, that's quite relevant, I think, to today, because we have now committed to a high. Well, I was going to say a high altitude, a weapon system designed to be able to travel some distances and intercept missiles. And the reason that that's important is that the distance part of it could easily turn into a larger conflagration there in Ukraine if things go sideways. So you always worry these weapon systems. This is an extremely difficult military situation to contain, of course, and somehow you're bringing to this difficult military situation weapons increasingly that are capable of increasing its spread, the footprint of this war, if it extends into Russia in any kind of substantial way, and if it extends into Poland, for example, on the other side in any substantial way, you have a far different situation than you have today. So Zelenskyy spoke. Do we have any of Zelenskyy? I was in the middle of getting it, wasn't I? I'm just going to needle drop it here. This is Zelenskyy in the... here we go. Let me just do this. I do this. I'll slide this here. And I can share from this other screen, right, Tony?
Should be, yeah.
Okay, here it is. So good. We'll just needle drop it in here a little bit, and I've got a thought or two, and you probably will as well. So...
I'll add it to the stream. Here we go. Boom.
Thank you. This is...
Then just hit play on it when you're ready.
Yeah, here we go. No, is that it?
No, just click on the YouTube. Yeah, the play. You didn't share audio?
No, of course. It's always something. I didn't share audio. What is it?
Yeah.
What do I do? How do I do that?
Here. So close. Stop sharing. So remove it. Stop sharing, and then share it again. So go to the. We're gonna do this live, huh? So present.
We're gonna do it live.
Share screen, and then the Chrome tab.
Okay.
We'll do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Yeah.
Or you can send me the link if you need me to.
Oh my God, this is just brutal.
So the Chrome tab, and then if you click on the thing, you should be able to see it, and just make sure that little on the bottom left it says Share Tab Audio, and that should be it.
I see. All right. Let's do this.
With dignity and success.
He got a lot of this, a lot of a standing ovation. So the love affair with Zelensky continues, and he is a rock star of sorts.
We'll celebrate Christmas. Celebrate Christmas, and even if there is no electricity, the light of our faith in ourselves will not be put out. If Russian missiles attack us, we'll do our best to protect ourselves. If they attack us with Iranian drones and our people will have to go to bomb shelters on Christmas Eve, Ukrainians will still sit down at the holiday table and cheer up each other. And we don't have to know everyone's wish, as we know that all of us, millions of Ukrainians, wish the same: victory. Only victory.
And more standing ovation. Now,
put in.
I'll go back and hear that.
We already built strong Ukraine with strong people, strong army, strong institutions together with you. We developed strong security guarantees for our country and for entire Europe and the world together with you. And also together with you, we'll put in place everyone who will defy freedom. Put in.
It's a play.
This will be the basis to protect democracy in Europe and the world over. Now, on the special Christmas time, I want to thank you, all of you. I thank every American family which cherishes the warmth of its home and wishes the same warmth to other people. I thank President Biden and both parties at the Senate and the House for your invaluable assistance. I thank your cities and your citizens who supported Ukraine this year, who hosted our Ukrainians, our people, who waved our national flags, who acted to help us. Thank you all, from everyone who is now at the front line, from everyone who is evading victory. Standing here today, I recall the words of the President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, which are, I think, so good for this moment. The American people, in their righteous might, will win through to absolute victory. The Ukrainian people will win too, absolutely.
So that's that. Again, standing ovation, and his remarks, well crafted. And I would also say that the analysis, and this is I won't play all the analysis, but the one bit of analysis from is it Margaret Brennan, who is the foreign correspondent for CBS. I thought she made an interesting point at the beginning of her analysis, and then I'll just play a little bit, and then we'll talk about it. And I have a couple of thoughts that I hope will be worth hearing. So here is Margaret Brennan at the now. If I can share this,
you got it.
We'll do it live.
Okay.
I'll write it and we'll do it live.
I know. I got it. All right, here we go. We'll get it. Here is a bit of her stuff on.
Not hearing anything, not seeing anything.
Okay.
There we go.
Oh my God. Do you hear it or not?
Try now.
This is just awful. I'm telling you.
Nope.
All right. You know what? We'll do it live. I'm going to do it.
We'll do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
She was making the point that it's rare that he speaks in English. He obviously spoke in English to this crowd. I think that gives him, it may be a superficial point, but I'm about to make an even more superficial point, which was seized upon by the right-wing media. And I've even seen it in the chat. It may be a superficial point that he spoke in our language of English, but apparently he doesn't do that. He just doesn't. In other words, he doesn't crack open a can of English at the first chance he gets. He was doing it because that was the best way to make the appeal for continued support to Ukraine. So it was an effective and clearly important, probably, way to punch through to the American people. We can talk about how effective he is in punching through in a second. The thing that was seized upon that was more superficial than that, I thought, was the fact that he was dressed in his combat fatigues, if you want to think of it that way, in the green. And the deal with that is that on Fox News Channel, Sean Hannity, Tucker Carlson, these guys who are the right-wing punditry and hosts there creating issues, they couldn't get off of the fact that he was, as Tucker said, dressed as though he's the owner of a strip club and he's coming to us to ask for money. I'm really not bothered by how the guy's dressed. I guess that you could obsess about the theater of it, but come on. So if he had dressed in a coat and tie and cufflinks, you would have said, here he is coming to us looking for money, and look at the way he's dressed. Expensive cufflinks, Brioni suit. So you can see how there is, no matter what, the right is going to have that bias, and they're going to criticize him. I found his remarks, welcome back, Kim, by the way. That's the...
Kim, how are you?
Yeah, so Kim is back from serving hot chocolate.
I got my visitor tag on, my school tag.
Oh, very cool.
I have that disheveled room mom look,
No,
the one running through the school hall with the hot chocolate in one hand and the cookies in the other. Yeah.
That look is really coming back in the new year. So you're right. You're a little bit ahead.
I'm on. One thing about Zelensky, he was a comedian by trade before he became a politician, right?
You thought he should have opened with a joke? Is that what you're saying?
I'm gonna say, serious joke, serious insert joke. I kept waiting for I know it's serious, I know it's war, but it's his.
But have you seen the price of gas at the pump, everybody? Have you seen this? It's crazy.
By his very nature,
Freddie, have you seen it?
He likes to lift people up, right? So I missed the jokes.
Like the Bob Hope specials of the 70s. We in Ukraine like to laugh.
We thank the American people, insert joke about money,
That is pretty funny.
Kim, how are you?
Of all of the comments about President Zelensky, I have not heard that one.
Not funny enough? Yeah.
I thought the guy's a comic. There wasn't one laugh in it.
There goes his HBO special.
The deal with Zelensky is he played to the emotion, right?
Yeah.
I talked to Chip Franklin. Boy, Chip and I disagree about a lot of stuff. It's really interesting that you two guys who you'd think would be on the same side of the. I'll tell you something else we disagree about in a second. But he said that he was brought to tears by Zelensky. Now, I'm a crier. I'm brought to tears by a lot of things, but Zelensky, I didn't get close.
You are a little emotional. I'm surprised.
I'm very emotional.
There was no welling up, not even a little?
No.
Our two countries connecting, a thank you, a heartfelt holiday message. We'll gather around the table in spite of you.
Yeah, I don't know. I get it. And that's real. I think I'm more interested in the X's and O's of this conflict.
Right.
You've got a shutting off of energy to that region. You have many, and he did note this in his speech, who are, without heat, without light, without running water. There's a real humanitarian crisis that's growing in Ukraine.
Yeah.
I think you can make an argument that we, for the free world, whatever that means, I understand that's a troubled term, but let's just use it for now. You have a moral obligation, you could say, to defend Ukraine and to stop an expansionist Russia. Now, you can also say that Russia was legitimately threatened by the growth of NATO around Russia, this sort of encirclement of Russia by NATO countries. But I think if you do say that, I would say, well, Ukraine was rejected as a NATO country. They want to be in NATO, but we said no. They were on no track to be a NATO country. And I think one of the reasons they were on no track was just that. It was feared that geopolitically it would be destabilizing. So I'm sorry, but I don't put a lot of credence in that argument you hear a lot of, that somehow we provoked this. I don't think so. In fact, they were demilitarized in large measure, you remember. They used to have nukes, Ukraine, and they demilitarized to that extent for what was a security agreement. And you can see that that led nowhere. Anyway, I think the situation in Ukraine, sadly, is a morass that will likely continue to suck American money.
Dinging you for morass.
I think you're right, dinging for morass. And let me say one last thing about the money. I find it very disturbing that you have no, and this is true across the board on military stuff, you know, you have no second thoughts about sending tons of money. I've just told you, tens of billions of dollars and sophisticated weapons systems to Ukraine. You don't think twice about it as a country. But when it comes to extending child health care credits, that was really reducing child poverty. Where are we going to get the money? Where are we going to find the money for that? When it comes to benefits to seniors, for eyes, for hearing aids, this kind of thing that was in that last package that they tried to get through but was rejected because, well, we just can't find the money for that. How are we going to pay for that? We have such extraordinary needs here. We're such a wealthy country, and yet the thing that glides through Congress always is military. If you've got a weapon request, if you have a military request, we're right on, brother. But if it's a question of childhood tax credits or child tax credits, we don't have it. We don't have the money to bolster our educational system here. And I can go on. I mean, that infrastructure bill, they kicked back a bunch of stuff that really would have lifted this country up into the future. So I have a real problem with the way we are totally cool and we feel the need, the imperative, as I say, a moral imperative to help out the people of Ukraine and this situation with an expansionist power that could destroy Ukraine, let's be honest, and may still well do that. But we double clutch and just can't find the will to do these other things that I talk about. And there's a tremendous need in this country for all of those as well. What's going on in the chat? The military-industrial complex has carte blanche. Both parties give them endless funding. It's sickening, says John Smith. Couldn't agree more. That's exactly right. We got money for wars, but can't feed the poor. Tupac Shakur. Tupac Shakur, come on. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Young Thug is here.
All right. It was not Young Thug. It's Tupac. I love it. Lori says we should be giving money like this from defense budget to help fight cartels, invasions of southern countries, help with immigration issues, and its national security. This is a really good point, by the way. We did touch on it with David K. Johnston. I don't know if you were with us on Tuesday, but David and I were talking about we're talking about immigration, and we're talking about countries in Central and South America, Latin America, with corruption issues, with drug cartel issues, including Mexico. And the fact that you do need to pour foreign aid money in, understanding that there is a corrupt system. You have to be very careful about it. But you need to do more to try to prevent these countries from being these cesspools that people fear and then running to the U.S. That's how we end up with an immigration problem. But we're always handing out the money to other countries' problems, not taking care of our own people. Yeah, I think that's fair as well. Look, there is a lot of money, particularly if you look at the checks we write against debt, but our priorities are all wrong. Was it the Biden quote that was this? Don't tell me your priorities. Show me your budget, and I will tell you your priorities. That, in my judgment, no truer words were spoken. If you look at discretionary income, discretionary spending in this country, look no further. It's right there at the Pentagon, baby. They got all the money. So we continue.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I want to thank my guy, Steve Moskowitz. He is our founding sponsor and our exclusive sponsor. You can reach him at 888-TAX-DEAL. Steve is a brilliant guy with a history, a personal history that's remarkable. I mean, cab driver in New York, put himself through school, went to Berkeley, got a law degree, has a degree as a tax accountant. So he's been helping people in the Bay Area and beyond for over 30 years. If you are someone with any tax situation whatsoever, maybe you just need somebody to file your taxes and take another glance at it, call Steve, 888-TAX-DEAL, 888-TAX-DEAL. We've talked about ERC. You may think you're not eligible. You'd be surprised. You may not think you're eligible for any number of things. Steve can help you in so many different ways, and he's so accessible, and his people can handle cases not only in California, but all across the country and the world. So you may be somebody who is who's living overseas, and you have a business in this country, or you have a business overseas and you have taxes to pay in this country. Call Steve Moskowitz, 888-TAX-DEAL. You can also reach him online, MoskowitzLLP.com.
International finance.
Yeah, he does it all. You know, he does it all.
The Mark Thompson Show.
So let me tell you what's happening. Jefferson Graham's going to join us in a few minutes. Jeff's got the cables you need on the Christmas morning. I also will tell you something. I'm annoyed with Jefferson Graham.
Why? He's such a nice man.
Oh, he's the greatest. He's the greatest. It's like
also,
he's like
he rocks the guitar. He's personable.
Don't defend him before I've even attacked him. It's disgusting. My God.
Can you let him finish, sir?
Yeah, let me finish. So he's like a brother to me, Jefferson Graham. But you can be annoyed with your brother. And he had me and he recommended the Anchor battery the last time he was on this show. He said, that's a way to extend the life for the iPhone, right? It's another 8 hours on your Anchor. So I ordered the Anchor right away. It doesn't come with the cables that I need, the proper cables to power my iPhone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So don't you think that's what? I know. That's what I said.
His recommendation was remiss and should have included proper cableage.
Very well said. Yes, ma'am. I do. But I will take it up with him when he joins. He's not without fault, is my point, but he's pretty damn cool, and he does play guitar. In addition to all the knowledge that he's got, he's as you know, the longtime tech writer for USA Today. He just left USA Today, I think, in the last year to do the photo walks full time. Anyway, Jefferson Graham joins bottom of the hour. Then top of the next hour is David Katz. We'll get into the Dominion voting defamation suit, but also the Trump criminal referrals to the Justice Department. What's the real legal exposure of Trump beyond that? Also, Georgia, New York. Trump faces some real legal headaches at minimum, and we'll talk to David about that. I do want to say this. I haven't asked you at all in this first half hour. Haven't even mentioned it. But our YouTube channel right now is demonetized, as most regular viewers know, and the reason for that is a clerical one. Nothing to do with our content. And it's left us in a free fall, okay? So we're not making any money on this broadcast through YouTube. So, no super chats, no super stickers, none of that. None of the advertisement that YouTube adds and then we get a piece of, none of that. So we're demonetized for a whole month. And it's left us in a little bit of a squeeze. And so I try to do it respectfully. I haven't mentioned in the last half hour, but if you haven't yet, if you could go to our website, themarkthompsonshow.com, there you will see a donate. And when you see the donation, you go either to PayPal or you can go to Patreon, and that's the way you can help us out. So hoping that you'll find a way to, there it is, themarkthompsonshow.com. You'll see that. And you click on one of those two tabs there, yeah, and then that'll take you to a place you can contribute. And you can make a one-time contribution or make a monthly contribution. Many of you have been so very supportive. We've added your names to our credits at the end of the show, and I will find a way, I'm working it out with Tony now, to acknowledge you during the show, the way we used to do with super stickers and all the rest. If you made a donation of any substantial size, I do want to see to it that you get the recognition. So that's the thing. Help us that way. And as I say, it will make a difference, particularly this month, as we are not monetized. So is that it? Can we now continue?
We're now
Kim's
free to
news.
move about the cabin. Yes.
You're now free to move about the cabin.
Before we go to news, I just want to mention the
Yes.
holiday background on the Mark Thompson show today.
Oh, yes.
And at first we
pretty.
weren't sure if we wanted to use it because at the bottom is a deck. It looks like you're out on the deck.
Oh, yeah,
right?
or a picnic table or something, yeah.
Right. And so, but now that I see it for a while, I kind of like it. Like you're on deck, right? I think it's kind of
That's
a cool
interesting.
metaphor. Yeah.
Wow. I had nothing to do with it, and I think it's very cool. So, however you made that decision, and then
I
you
just picked one
jujitsu-
this morning. Sorry.
Oh, did you? Okay.
I mean, that's it. It worked. Yeah. All right, Kim's news, and then we get into a little conversation with Jefferson Graham, who also shares a Christmas song with us today.
Oh, nice.
He is a guitar virtuoso.
Yeah.
So we'll get to all of that, plus my argument with Jefferson Graham. All of it still to come. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. Thousands of flights being canceled or delayed today as a major winter storm sweeps across the United States. FlightAware reporting about a quarter of flights out of airports in Chicago and Denver have been canceled. There have been more than 4,000 delays and 1,800 cancellations for flights within to or out of the United States. Those delays now affecting traffic at SFO as well. Stocks down in a big way today after making a brief comeback yesterday. The Dow Jones Industrial Average has been down by more than 720 at times. It only adds to losses for the major averages as the S&P 500 has lost about 6%, NASDAQ about 8% down this month. The Senate poised to approve a nearly $1.7 trillion package to fund the government this afternoon. For her part, Speaker Nancy Pelosi said it'll take a few hours to get that bill to the House, but the chamber could pass it by tonight. Lawmakers are scrambling to clear the measure ahead of Friday's deadline. More Americans are filing for unemployment. The Labor Department says 216,000 people sought first-time benefits this week. That is last week, rather. That is a jump of 2,000 from the previous week's revised total. Americans' life expectancy is at its lowest in nearly 3 decades. The CDC data shows a downward trend starting in 2020, landing at just over 76 years old for those born in the United States in 2021. It's the lowest life expectancy has been since 1996.
I think this is a big story, and I'm so glad you're doing it. And the third leading cause of death in America now is COVID. So I don't think you can soft pedal the threat that COVID is, both to longevity and to leading a healthy life. I mean, long COVID was always my concern. My concern wasn't necessarily being killed by COVID, but the concern.
Because you're vaccinated.
Well,
But,
because
I
I'm
mean-
vaccinated, I also felt in pretty good shape, or blah, blah, comorbidities I didn't have. But leave me aside. I mean, just as a general population, I felt on a percentage basis, it's a shocking number, the number of people who were, buying the farm from COVID.
Sure.
But that said, I felt fundamentally the issue was the effects on the body of COVID, which we don't know. Now we're beginning to understand a little long COVID. There's so many, a little bit about long COVID, and there's so many people affected by it. And so anyway, these mortality figures and life expectancy figures are shocking. And I know the opiate elements that are in that average as well, right, Kim? That's a big
Right.
part of bringing those numbers down also.
But, it's interesting that the downward trend started in 2020, right? So that, has to take into effect the death rate a little before 2020 as well. And I feel like there's so many people that are still naysaying COVID. Oh, didn't kill this many people
It's
as
like
they
the
think.
flu.
Oh,
It's like the flu.
it's
Shake
like
it
the
off, right?
and it's they died from other things. They just said COVID, right? Well, we're I don't know if we can say we're at the end of the pandemic now. We've certainly know better how to deal with it.
We're in
But
a
I don't
different stage
think
of it, certainly.
we're at a different stage of it, but I don't think you can look back and say it didn't affect people, that it didn't kill people. And now when you see that it affected our overall general life expectancy numbers, I think that's very telling.
Agreed.
California is now the second state to ban flavored tobacco products. The law started yesterday, even though it was actually signed in 2020. A coalition representing the tobacco industry gathered enough signatures to put it on last month's ballot as Proposition 31. Voters approved it. Supreme Court then upheld the law last week. So that means flavored tobacco for e-cigarettes, menthol cigarettes, and flavored cigars can no longer be sold in stores here in California. Massachusetts also bans those flavored tobacco products. Talk about a bad mom day. I'm telling you guys, this is a story out of Alabama. You would think Florida, but no, it's Alabama. There's this woman facing charges for a Oh, I stand corrected. My bad. I'm sorry.
It is Florida.
An Alabama woman is facing charges for a violent outburst at Miami International Airport.
Yeah,
that's right. A little taste of Friday on this midweek day.
Yeah.
Camilla McMillie was arrested yesterday for allegedly throwing a computer at a gate agent. You gotta be frustrated,
Oh.
Police say the 25-year-old was upset when she lost track of her two kids. She demanded the American Airlines gate agent find them. The gate agent was hit in the shoulder but not seriously hurt. McMillie allegedly caused $10,000 worth of damage. She is facing charges that include aggravated battery. Police say
I don't think you should apologize for how you feel.
I also don't think you should throw a computer.
her children had gone to the restroom. They were found safe. She just wigged out for no reason.
Wow.
Listen to me. I don't want to hear you.
Wow.
I want to update that story we were following yesterday about the library at San Jose State.
Okay, then I got Steve Moskowitz waiting right after this.
Okay, then I'll wrap it up quick.
No, it's okay. Do this because we were following that. What did happen on that? Was that a legit situation?
It was
Tell everybody it was a scare. They evacuated
At San Jose State, it shut down the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Library. It closed yesterday after a woman barricaded herself in the bathroom. A worker thought she had a possible gun on the first floor. The worker called campus police. They came out, evacuated the building, waited for her to surrender. Turns out, replica gun is what she had. They're determining what charges to file. The school was on holiday break, so not that many people there, but that's how we wrap it all up. The news sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and for businesses. So if you need help with your taxes, you can't afford not to call Steve at 888-TAX-DEAL or MoskowitzLLP.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Who's Mark Thompson?
Hey, which one of you is Mark Thompson?
Thompson, party of four.
How about it for Steve Moskowitz, everybody? He joins us now. We were just talking about him, the legend, and this is the man. I was talking to Chip Franklin yesterday because I heard that you guys were talking about the Trump taxes a bit on his show. I would have liked to have been part of that conversation because I think I know I disagree with Chip, but would have been a weird spot if I disagreed with you because I don't really want to ever disagree with you about anything.
Well, this is something that's that's okay. This is something that's a matter of opinion.
Sure.
And I feel very strongly about this. A tax return is supposed to be sacred. Mm-hmm. Now, in considering what's being done with former President Trump's tax returns, we have to put our likes or dislikes aside. We have to put politics aside. What is the possible purpose of giving his tax returns literally to the world. And, here, I think it's political and to try to embarrass him. And again, let's see, what are you going to have on a tax return? Are they expecting under the other income line to see bribe from Vladimir Putin? And another thing, if somebody cheats on their tax return, the biggest cheating is what they don't put on it, like not reporting some income or deducting an expense that's not valid. So if the IRS were looking at a tax return, it's not just the tax return, because the tax return itself basically is a bunch of summarizations. You need all the support for that. So, for example, if you're looking at your total income, the auditor would look at your bank statements and say, well, why is there more money deposited in the bank than there is on the tax return? The standard answer is, it's transfer between accounts or a loan or something was non-taxable. And you go into that. But again, if this were just an audit, a regular old audit, you'd have to go into all the subschedules and the support for it. It's like when you deduct something on the return, whatever it is, the auditor is going to say, okay, let's see the receipts. Do the receipts exist? Was there a business purpose?
Well, that's the point, though, Steve. And we got to. I've got Jefferson Graham waiting, so I got to go. But I want to talk about this more because you're just the guy. I mean, there's no one I'd rather talk about.
Well, we can talk about it on the next one too. And there's another big problem. A common complaint is, good people don't get involved in politics. Well, you take somebody's tax return and you show it to the world. Well, somebody says, you know what? I don't want to go through it. It's just like, and where do you stop? Do you have to submit a medical test? Do you have to submit to the Attorney General or the Surgeon General?
I'm sorry, but with respect, that the idea somehow that because you have to show your tax return next, they're going to look at your medical records. That's just not. I mean, I don't know. I don't see the linkage there. I get it. There is as you're well aware, a custom in this country that those running for president show their tax return. It is important. It's important to know.
It's been a custom for the past 40 years. But the problem is, how many good people does that prevent from doing anything political?
If you can, again, I don't know to what extent. I get it that there is a degree of exposure there, but I also think that there's nothing wrong with that custom. And in fact, I think it should be in law that people who, if you want to run for the highest office in the land, and I would even say then fine. And to be senator or a legislator or even in the state house here in California, I think tax information, I'd love to talk to you more about this because I'm caught. I mean, I view you as an incredibly credible guy on this. And when you tell me, well, it's sacred, well, then either nobody shows their tax returns or everybody does, but I don't have an issue with those who are running for president showing their taxes.
If you want to.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. I think this voluntary thing where Trump essentially, flipped everybody the bird on showing him the taxes. That's why this became the Holy Grail. It wouldn't have been such, I think, had that not been the case. He concocted these stories about, audit and all the rest. Anyway, let's talk more about it, because I also think it's interesting how the IRS essentially gave him a pass. I mean, there's as you know, they're compelled, the IRS, to audit the president, and they didn't do it for the first 2 years. So can we talk more about that next time? I've got Jeff waiting.
No, I'm always happy to talk about taxes, Mark.
Okay.
No problem.
Okay, great.
Thanks.
I was mentioning all the different things that people can do and the ways to reach you. 888-TAX-DEAL, 888-TAXDEAL, every nook, cranny. You don't know what you don't know. That's what I would say. In other words, you don't know what you're missing out on from a tax advantage standpoint until you reach Steve Moskowitz. 888-TAX-DEAL, 888-TAXDEAL, or MoskowitzLLP.com. Love you, Steve. Thank you, pal.
Love you too, Mark. Thanks.
All right, my friend.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Wow, got into a real debate with Steve Moskowitz. It's kind of fun. Now let's bring on Jefferson Graham, who I think is standing by, is he not? Is Jeff still there? Thank you, Jefferson Graham, for joining us. Hello.
Hi.
Say hi to Kim, who is
hi,
here
Kim.
today.
Hi. I'm a mean man. I'm an awful person. I'm no longer your brother, huh?
That's right. You're out, buddy. You're out. You hooked me up with that thing, Anchor. I got a bunch of them, of course. I bought them as gifts for people. And then, as it turns out, I don't have the right cord. And
You
Tony
don't have the right
Tony can speak to the right.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, Tony knows Tony has more cords. He comes up here. He said, "I've got a thing in the car for that." You know what I mean? For whatever that is, right?
Poor guy.
Yeah, but Jeff, how could you have me get an anchor? How could you recommend an anchor to all of my viewers and listeners, and somehow not mention, by the way, if you're going to need a special kind of cord for it?
Well, maybe I'm assuming you have that cord.
Yes, maybe you are assuming.
Yeah, because I don't know what's in their box. I just know the thing works, and it gives you extra charge. Now, they should have a USB-C and a USB-A cable in there.
I don't even know what those things mean.
Why are you yelling?
USB-C,
Okay,
USB-A.
well, let me bring you up to date.
Yeah, let's talk cords now.
Okay, over the last few years, there's been a move among all manufacturers to only have one cord, and that's called a USB-C that replaces the old USB-A. Do
you have pictures? We have pictures to go with this, I think.
You remember the big, thick? It's not showing very well, but the big, thick cord versus the little thing.
Tony, do we have any pictures of this or not? Tony, is Tony with us? No. You with us, buddy?
Stay by me and see if you got any ideas.
No. Anyway, I saw he's doing.
That's the old USB-A, right? We all know that one. It only
Right.
goes in one side, and you have to fiddle with it. So they have the USB-C, which you could put in upside down or right side up. So even the iPhone is supposedly shifting to USB-C with the next edition. So pretty much all products have USB-C now.
So again, and USB-C, for those who just tell me now, because for those of us who are not like super techie, I know that this is a super basic Tech 101. For example, you'd have a cord like that on your Apple. When your Apple device, when you plug into the power, that would be what you're talking about, correct?
Anybody who has a Samsung Galaxy, a Google Pixel, a GoPro, a Sony camera, those are all USB-C. A drone, USB-C. The holdout has been Apple, which has Lightning to USB-C. Lightning to USB-C.
That's what that is that we're seeing.
Right. No, that's USB-A. That's USB-A with the big silver thing. I recommend, I have a bunch of, we're going to hopefully put these in the description, but I've got links to the cables you're going to need on your holiday day. The most important one is this little $10 adapter. I'm not doing a good job of showing, but you would stick your USB-A into there and thus could put it into USB-C when you need it. Mark's going the other direction. He needed a USB-A cable to plug into his iPhone.
There it is. That's the adapter you're talking about.
That's the adapter. Yeah, right. And that should just be a must for everybody, because at some point you're going to run into this problem. And
so
then
what I will do is I'll make sure that all the links to these things are posted in the description. I'll do that as soon as we get done with the live show. Okay.
But we should all be like Tony, and we should all have these extra cables around just in case.
Well, we should all be like Tony anyway, I think.
Thanks, Tony.
He's a good guy, and Tony is a good
So many cables I have.
Role model for all of us.
Thanks, Tony.
Anyway, all right, go
ahead. But the cool thing, though, it's not like it used to be. I used to have micro USB and macro USB and this and that, and now it's pretty much only these USB-C cables. Okay, so we are in a better world now.
I have this cool thing that has all the different kinds of connectors in one little. Can you see that?
Wow. Yeah.
So has all the little different ones. Yeah, it's very cool.
That would have helped.
Kim, how are you?
That's pretty terrific.
It's a great stocking stuffer.
Yeah.
Kim, how are you?
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah.
Now that is these may be the stocking stuffers of this year. You know what I mean? This stuff that you're talking about.
Yeah. But I will say, though, however, you bought the cheap anchor. There's more expensive models that might have the USB-C cord.
I wouldn't use the word cheap. I would say
you paid $20 for the thing. It was $20.
Thrifty?
yes, maybe inexpensive might be a better word.
What?
I just think when you say cheap, it has a sort of a.
Wow.
Have we asked anybody to smash the like button in a while?
No, you're right. I haven't all show. I haven't had anybody smash this. Smash it like
with
a
your
boss.
iron rod.
The like
and subscribe
please.
and subscribe.
Thank you. Smash it with your iron rod, subscribe, and share the show. Trying to grow the show. I told you about the demonetization, so that just for this month. But still, we need those shares and those likes.
Smash it with your iron rod.
So if you're watching in replay and you know, you can still hit the like button. In fact, I would encourage most of the people in replay, especially the people in replay, if you will, to hit the like button. Thank you for reminding me, Jeff. I forget. Some of the YouTube stuff, you know, I forget. You've been a YouTuber for a while now. Your photo walks is terrific. You took us to Paris. You take us to the coast. You take us to Big Sur. You take us to Manhattan Beach. You take us to Zion. You take us to Bryce. I mean, you've had great, great trips. In fact, I was talking yesterday about Bryce and Zion. That's where I want to go in the spring.
I'm
so
ready.
Maybe you can help me, stitch that
ready.
together. Yeah, we could do that together.
This Saturday, I'm doing the 12 most interesting people I met out on the road on my photo walks.
That's great. Great idea. There it is, jeffersongraham.substack.com. And also the travel photo series. It's photo walks on YouTube and beyond. It's on YouTube. It's on Tubi. There's a little
There's
bit
last night.
Oh, beautiful.
Wow, look at you.
That is gorgeous.
So I only stood there for 90 minutes to get this 30 seconds worth of footage. That's how long it takes.
That's
in
cool.
90 minutes, standing there at Crissy Field, how many times would you think people try to rob you?
It depends on what gear you have with you. And if you're standing there with an iPhone, maybe they'll leave you alone. If you're standing there with a big camera with a major honking lens, they'll come after you.
I'm making the joke because, as regular viewers know, Jeff had that happen where they rip off his stuff. So while he was doing sort of a similar kind of shoot. Well, I know you're here at Christmas time and holiday time, and I know you have mad skills when it comes to guitar, and you're very nice to favor us with a tune from time to time. What have you chosen today?
How many guests do you have who end with a song in your long career?
Not many. I mean, maybe a handful, I think. Yeah.
Okay. So I can still be your brother?
Yes, we are brothers always, but that'll never change. But I just do get annoyed with you when you leave out key pieces of information when making recommendations to me.
Won't let it go.
Wow. Really great. A lot of love for you in the chat along the way.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Really pretty terrific. Thank you, Jefferson Graham. I recommend everything you do. Jeff can be reached. Well, his Substack is a great thing. It hits your inbox automatically. In fact, it's jeffersongraham.substack.com. And as I say, once you subscribe, it hits your inbox automatically. And there's all kinds of stuff. All the links, for example, that Jeff talked about, they're all there in that Substack post. The links to many of the tours and the photo walks, you'll find those as well. And, of course, on YouTube, the series Photo Walks is terrific. We love you. You're a friend of the show, and thanks for being here, pal. Happy holidays, all that stuff.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. Jefferson Graham, everybody. Good stuff. Mm-hmm.
So good.
Wow. Yeah.
You know, tomorrow, Christmas vacation begins. I'm going to have 2 kids here at the house, and they're both musically inclined. So, you know, Jefferson Graham kind of gave me the idea that I'll have Julia plays the oboe, so you can share in my pain because it is painful. They play the ukulele. She plays the flute. Jacob was ukulele and piano. So we'll get the band together in here on the Mark Thompson Show.
That's very exciting.
Yeah.
I will remind you that tomorrow might not be the day for it because Tyler Hilton will be performing off the top of the show.
Oh.
He is a major recording artist, and if you don't know who he is, you ought to Google him, and you'll see he's big time. He was in One Tree Hill. He's a star, okay?
Yeah.
So the name may land with you, may not, but check him out. He's insanely talented. I mean, really. So he will lead the show with us tomorrow.
Oh, he's cute, too.
He's very, he's a hottie, you know.
Darling.
The other Mark Thompson, the successful, wealthy Mark Thompson from Mark and Brian, who we had on the show before, he's the one who connected us to Tyler Hilton, and he'll join us as well to kind of make that all happen. So that'll be right off the beginning of the show tomorrow. Tomorrow's a big show, as you know. Fridays are a big show. Friday Fabulous Florida. Monday, 11 o'clock hour, we have the Michaels, and we have Jim Avila on politics. So it's a big show. But if you could keep the kids handy. Oh, you want to show us a picture of Tyler Hilton?
I was trying to, yeah.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Good morning, Tyler Hilton.
Good morning.
That's tomorrow. I won't be late for that show.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Morning.
I don't think you should apologize for how you feel.
Let's take a little bit of a news break. And when we come back, we'll talk to David Katz. I want to speak to him about, at minimum, two things, right? The Trump legal exposure in the states, in Georgia, New York, et cetera, but also, of course, the criminal referrals from the Justice Department. And I want to talk to him about this Dominion voting thing. A pretty big testimony from Sean Hannity, who essentially said he knew it was a fraud. And once you said you know it's a fraud, I'm talking about the idea that the election was stolen or that the Dominion voting machines were in some way part of a fraud on that side. He says he knew it. He never bought it. So how does that affect things? We'll talk about that with David as well. Smash the like button like a boss. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting us in all the ways you do as we continue. Mark Thompson Show.
Do you feel it? It's the Mark Thompson Show.
And this report is sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. Americans are being warned by President Biden to take the winter storm impacting much of the United States very seriously. The blizzard warnings are in effect in many places, this storm system affecting millions of people now. President Biden said Americans should heed local warnings as his administration is working with governors to provide any support needed. So delays at many of the nation's airports, and that includes SFO today. The December sell-off is back. And that's not an advertisement. Stocks are falling sharply today as yesterday's rally kind of fizzles away. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was down more than 500 at some points today. It was down, all the major averages are dealing with losses for the month as investors worry about the action from central banks and a possible recession. The debate over a Trump-era border policy is frustrating those who live right along the border with Mexico. The Texas Border Coalition says there needs to be more pressure on Congress to act on this one. A bipartisan compromise that would have included legislation of the legalization of some illegal immigrants failed to gain traction again. Ukrainian officials are hopeful that soldiers will be trained quickly on an advanced missile defense system. The U.S. set to send the Patriot missile defense system as part of an assistance package. A top Ukrainian military official said he held a phone call with Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin and is very confident soldiers will master those systems quickly. American hurdler Lashinda Demas is in line to be awarded a gold medal from the 2012 Olympic Games. Pardon. The Athletics Integrity Unit announced Russian Natalia Antyuk had not appealed a penalty issued 2 months ago due to doping. The punishment included stripping her of her results between July of 2012 and June of 2013. So the medal goes to somebody else.
Wow.
Yes, indeed. So, I mean, I don't know. Do you want the medal if it's like, I guess you do, because technically the other person was doping. They didn't legitimately win it. So you would be the legitimate winner of the medal.
Of
right?
course.
Yeah.
But sadly, you're cheated out of that moment on the stand, which on the award stand. So, yeah, that's the
but you got
downside.
that medal. That's right.
Right.
The Mega Millions jackpot is sitting at more than $500 million again. The jackpot, 510 mil for tomorrow, with a cash option just below 270 million. Tomorrow's drawing, of course, takes place in the evening. And this report, sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and for businesses. So if you need help with your taxes, you can call Steve, talk some politics, get a little tax advice, 888-TAX-DEAL, and MoskowitzLLP.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson.
I've told you it's never easy being in this business.
The Mark Thompson Show.
What up, everybody? Welcome to our Thursday show. I know it's the big ramp up to Christmas. Don't go anywhere. I mean, don't go anywhere when you're watching the show or listening, but I really mean don't go anywhere in the country. It is a once-in-a-generation storm. I had friends asking me, I used to be a weather forecaster, and I dipped back into it looking at maps earlier this week for people who were thinking about travel. And essentially my message was, if you haven't gotten to where you want to go by Wednesday, then just don't go, because it is this bizarre confluence of weather events, of atmospheric events that brings a lot of warm air in. So there's rain ahead of the warm air, and then this brutal cold air. I mean, you saw the temperatures dropping in the Midwest by 45 degrees, and those temperature drops were within hours. So you have a freezing of all that water on the road, on runways, et cetera, and you just have a massive problem. I mean, and the travel problems nationwide, except really in California. I don't think we've had, right, Kim? We haven't had any.
No, we have delays. Mark, listen, pal. I mentioned it in the last two newscasts that we have delays at SFO. No, I'm kidding. We do that.
Well, no. Well, please don't misunderstand me. Yeah. I mean, the delays to which you're referring. Yeah. I think those are because of delays elsewhere in the country, though. When you're flying.
It's a trickle-down delay. That's right.
Right. I mean, I guess what I'm just trying to say is we're not having weather issues here in California somewhere. You know what I mean?
No,
Thule fog might be something, or some kind of snow squall. So, but yeah, there are delays at the airport because now you're in the network of other delays nationwide. All right, without any further delay, now I want to bring on a guy who is our guy when it comes to the law. The former assistant U.S. attorney. He is David Katz.
That's right.
Yeah, what up, David Katz? How are you, sir?
Great to be with you guys. Happy holidays.
Hi.
Yeah, we've got David on a phone, and I'll tell you, in the new year, we are sending Tony to him.
Okay.
And Tony was going to be there actually before today's show, but just to kind of, again, I'm always trying to be forthcoming with the audience, and Tony will make sure that he is totally styled out so that he can join us with no problem. You'll be able to see and hear David.
You're giving Tony as a holiday gift, basically.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, Tony's
I think everybody needs a little Tony in their stocking.
Yes, it's true.
Thanks, Tony.
All right, so David Katz, we'll start with Trump and the criminal referral, and then I would love to get to this the Sean Hannity testimony on the Dominion defamation suit. I just think that's an interesting thing, and I don't really know the law around defamation. You might be able to help me. So start with Trump, though, if you would, please. So this week we saw the criminal referral.
Well, I have a blue and gold tie on. I'm all dressed to be on the show. So I'm now sitting in my car with a Bluetooth like I used to sit with Pat Thurston and you, Kim. So this is my lucky spot.
Good.
My lucky spot. Now, this has not been a very lucky week or month for Trump, right? And so the criminal referral is obviously more bad news. We've talked about the fact that it has no force of law. But, of course, in the court of public opinion, it's very important that, after this long investigation, this thorough investigation, reviewing over 1 million documents, hundreds of witnesses deposed under oath, 40 or 50 who took the fifth or they think gave kind of squirrely testimony, But, you know, we saw 8 different programs, very well put together, I thought very informative on TV. You know, we saw people like Cassie Hutchinson tell her story, which I think so far no one has really impugned. They've said some things about it, but no one's really shaken what she had to say about Trump actually wanting to lead the charge on the Capitol, wanting to be there, grabbing the steering wheel. And, of course, we've heard about all the frauds that were done by Trump and his minions. And then, of course, when none of the frauds worked, none of the scams worked, even the justices he appointed to the U.S. Supreme Court didn't vote in his favor, then he resorted to the force that we all saw on television and in the media on January 6th. So after all of that, I think that they had to make a criminal referral. Mark, they referred him for the insurrection itself, for conspiracy with others. They've also referred former Professor John Eastman from out here in Southern California, who was kind of his, a guru on these weird legal theories that he was pressing Trump to endorse, positions he was demanding that the vice president take. And so the two of them were referred for conspiracy, Trump for the insurrection, also for obstructing justice. It's alleged that various witnesses were tampered with, told to either not give the testimony that they could have truthfully given or to give untruthful testimony. All of that's going to go to Merrick Garland now in the Department of Justice, along with their own Justice Department investigation. The committee has said, the January 6th committee, that it's sharing records openly now that they've conducted their investigation. And apparently there's a 150-page sort of executive summary, and the report itself will be tens of thousands of pages because it will include a lot of this testimony, the depositions, the transcripts, physical evidence that they collected during their investigation. So stay tuned.
Well, presuming they want to press this case forward, which it sounds as though they probably do on some level because they've asked for evidence and, as you say, so much of the material that came out of the J6 committee. And as you've also said, they had their own investigation going. What is the timetable? What is the likely scenario or narratives that might follow?
Well, while I said that they'd given it to the Department of Justice and Merrick Garland, that's going to be given right away to Jack Smith. Jack Smith is the special prosecutor. Some people have very unhappy memories of how ineffective and feeble Mueller seemed to be, but this fellow seems to have a lot more alacrity. And of course, he's not a Republican from the establishment looking at the Republicans who were then the establishment, Trump, and his cronies. This is someone who looks like he's truly independent. He's gone after political corruption. We mentioned this before. Senator Edwards didn't go very well as prosecution. And Virginia Republican governor, that also didn't go very well in the Supreme Court. But he seems like he's an appropriately aggressive person who researches the law and the facts and is willing to fight these cases. And I think that there will be some charges in 2023 against Trump. I've gone back and forth on that. I started being a commentator back in early 2018 when Trump had both houses of Congress and was appointing judges to the Supreme Court every single day. Since then, he's appointed 3 Supreme Court justices. But I really think that the mood has changed somewhat in the country. I know people say that his base will never move. But even if you assume that his base is 35% and within that group, 90, 80% of them won't move, that leaves about 75% of the country that feels strongly that Trump ought to be indicted, or I think now feels much more strongly that way than they did before because they've heard 8 days of televised testimony that was very compelling from the J6 committee. So there's also the Mar-a-Lago case, which could either be brought at the same time in Washington, D.C., with a venue theory that the taking of the Mar-a-Lago records unlawfully, knowing it was against the law, started in Washington, D.C. as Trump was leaving office, charged the whole thing in Washington, D.C. And so I think that he will be charged. I think he'll be charged by this Jack Smith and the very able prosecutors and investigators that have been hired by the special prosecutor. And it seemed to be going forward. We see week to week that people are getting called into the grand jury, that they're zealously getting records together. They're going after this false slate investigation that happened around the country. I think they issued a subpoena to either Merrick Garland did or the special prosecutor to a female official down in Arizona. I forget her name right now. She fought it in the Supreme Court. She lost. You see some other people are fighting cases. They seem to be losing because the reality is A hard-charging prosecutor who brings a good legal factual presentation should get the judges to go along with them, should order enforcement of these subpoenas, these other enforcement mechanisms that the prosecutors are engaging in. And I know we all have bad memories of the delays, but I think that the courts are very sensitive to the fact that they look like they've been played, they've been delayed. You and I couldn't do it. They would demand that the case move forward. But it seemed that Trump managed to get all of these delays, and I think that the judiciary as a whole took a black eye over it, and they don't want to get a black eye in the other eye. And so I think they will move these cases along. You look at the Supreme Court, barely ruled in time for the tax returns of Trump to actually come out. They're also coming out later this week.
Yeah. The by the way, impugn is a ding word, and alacrity is a ding word. The question about the taxes, because you mentioned, this one comes in from Calvin on the chat. Mnuchin guilty of anything because of helping with no audits and the tax returns withheld? It would be hard to bring a case against the former Secretary of the Treasury, even though he's a despicable guy. But your thoughts on Mnuchin?
Well, this is a very interesting situation, and people may not sort of take it, to be as important as it is. But, Nixon had all of this hanky-panky with his tax return. Actually, when Nixon said, "I am not a crook," he was not referring to Watergate. He was referring to not having filed proper, transparent tax returns. And so since he was shown, although he said he was not a crook, to have been a crook with regard to his tax returns, we've had the practice since 1977, and everyone's used to it, that every presidential candidate discloses their tax returns, and you can see that they really don't have anything to hide in terms of, taking bribes, in terms of, being like Trump appears to be, someone who thinks taxes are great for other people, but doesn't want to pay any himself, even though he's running for president. So they had this mandatory program. Now, what that means, we're coming to see, but it's mandatory that every year they audit the president's tax returns. This was definitely gummed up in the case of Trump. It was done every single year for Obama. 8 years in a row, they looked at his tax returns. But Trump comes into power, and nobody looks at his tax returns, even though it's a mandatory IRS program. So people are saying, okay, was it pressure, at a pretty low level? Were people thinking, I don't want to be tweeted out to 80 million people and doxxed with my home address by Trump, and his minions? Do I not want that? So I'm going to leave Trump alone? That's terrible right there. If the very powerful and people who are willing to engage in intimidation of government officials can avoid something that's mandatory in the law. But did it go even higher than that? There was a Trump-appointed commissioner of the IRS as of 2018. So that person's named Charles Rettig, R-E-T-T-I-G. He's actually a Beverly Hills lawyer. He's gone back to his law firm as of about a month ago. The law firm's called Hochman Solkin. They're in Beverly Hills. He's back being a practicing lawyer right here. I'm in Beverly Hills myself. I don't know him personally. But it looks like, wait a second, how did this happen? Now, these people always say, well, I was the commissioner, so I don't get involved at that granular level of a particular person getting audited. But this is not you or me, right? This is not even Comey and McCabe, which is also very suspicious. He was the same commissioner handpicked by Trump, who somehow had this mathematical, almost implausibility, let's say that
yeah, how do they all get
enemies were picked for an audit? So this same person, this Charles Rettig guy, handpicked by Trump, somehow let that happen on his watch because there's a mathematical, concatenation of circumstances. There's one of your ding words.
Wow, that is a super ding. I give it 2 dings. Yeah, all right.
There's one chance at 5 million, but guess what? It happened to Comey and it happened to McCabe, his 2 huge FBI rivals. And meanwhile, his then chief of staff said, it's a funny thing because Trump was always saying, why doesn't the IRS go after those 2 people? The IRS went after those 2 people, and we're all supposed to be stupid and think, well, of course, the commissioner Rettig, picked by Trump, had nothing to do with that. Well, now Rettig says he had nothing to do with this latest one either, which is that Trump never got at any kind of audit, even though it was mandatory that he get an audit. So and then Mnuchin, of course, is his boss. So You could say it went up to Mnuchin's level. You could say it went up to Reddick's level. Hopefully there'll be an investigation. Now, the investigator, Mark, of this amazing coincidence that these two top FBI enemies of Trump got picked for this very intensive audit by the IRS. You could say that was awfully strange. This was awfully strange. It's going to be looked into, but there's an inspector general. You know, we've seen them before. And these inspector generals tend to go over from administration to administration. So I think there's a real question how aggressive this inspector general is going to be. And I think this is something that the Senate absolutely has to investigate because there's this mandatory program. Now you say, what does mandatory mean? Congress now, this week, if they can get it done this fast, is trying to put in a bill while the Democrats still are in control of the House. I don't think they'll be able to do it in time, which will make it in law. And you'll be violating the law if you don't conduct that mandatory audit of the president. This one seems to have been like a mandatory policy. It's in a policy manual. And we criminal defense attorneys who do a lot of work with the IRS, we know that all of those rules, when we try to have a court enforce them, they say, oh, no, it was just a good idea. It was just a salutary. It was just a suggestion. And it's certainly something that the government ought to do, but it doesn't give you any rights. It doesn't give you any rights. And so let's see if they really make it a law, Mark, that has some teeth in it. But it obviously had no teeth because Trump avoided. And, you know, the other thing is, of course, it shows Trump to be a liar for the 1 zillionth time. Because remember, I can't turn over my tax returns because they're under audit. It turns out 17 and 18 were not under audit at all.
We knew it.
I think I'm the most honest human being, perhaps that God ever created.
Right. We all knew, but
they were big, beautiful returns, Mark. They were big. You could say many things about your IRS form, but it's never been called.
There's never been anything like this.
Oh my God! It's just. I mean, what can you say?
There's never been anything like this.
I know. Yeah.
Mark,
yes,
one
David.
beauty of the 2020 return is it had a very round, gorgeous goose egg. He paid zero in the year 2020. According to him, he lost $5 million and therefore paid zero. President of the United States, 2020, zero in taxes. Some of your listeners and viewers may have paid more than zero. You know, it's people who work for a living, whether it's in a factory or in a shop or in a law firm. We all pay taxes except, of course, our great leader.
Well, the other thing I think is the way he got to zero, which is just, you know, without receipts, with the sales of goods from a company that apparently didn't sell anything. I mean, it's the concoctions associated with his tax return are of total 100% fiction. And that is, you know, you knew there were cheats, and there's a lot of tax cheating that goes on with high-end real estate guys, but Trump took it beyond that and moved it into totally different spheres of cheating. And so, pretty wild. Before I lose you, David Katz, the former assistant U.S. attorney with such great takes on the law, can you take me into, we talked about the criminal referrals, we talked about this tax situation. Can you take me into the Dominion voting defamation suit and some of the revelations that are coming out? It's clearly are damages, I think, to the brand of Dominion. I mean, after you just get pounded and pounded and pounded on all of these conservative media sites, Fox News Channel included, suggesting that there was fraud in your machines, and you're in the business of providing election machines, you start to get a stink on you. That's a real damage that's being done. But the defamation part, I'm told, is just a much harder thing to have stick.
Well, I think that Dominion's going to be okay. They are what the nation needs defamation laws for, because they were not only defamed, and you know, it's not only like, you know, depressing and why are people saying bad things about me and all the things that people don't like about defamation. It could be more than being depressed. I mean, you can ruin someone's life. You can, you know, that lady down in Georgia who was just counting the votes, and her mom who was just counting the votes. They couldn't go out of their house. I mean, they weren't a physical threat. They were defamed. You know, just stories were made up about them by Giuliani and the Trump team. So defamation can be a lot more than just hurt feelings or being depressed about it. But Dominion was harmed even more than that, Mark, because they're trying to sell their very accurate voting machines. And here's this huge campaign that they're not accurate. They were all fixed by Hugo Chavez. They still have the Hugo Chavez software that when you vote for Trump, it casts a vote for Biden. You had to really laugh because apparently it never cast a vote for a Democratic senator when they ran against any Republican senator. So these senators who are running 5 or 7 points ahead of Trump in these states, somehow their votes weren't being changed by the same Dominion machine, even though they were voting at the same time. You had to really laugh. It was another huge lie. It was part of course, the big lie by Trump. And it was pushed really foolishly by Fox. Fox, tries to stay on the side of opinion. But here they were making, I believe, false statements of fact. And for that, they got sued because they cost Dominion millions and millions of votes. Now, the problem that Dominion has, one thing is Dominion, public, if they have a public profile, if it were you or me, especially you, you would have a higher standard because you're a public figure, right? And Dominion is maybe a public figure, but then again, it's not like they dragged Biden into it. It's not like they dragged, somebody else into it. I mean, it's a company, but they're still going to have to meet this standard, Mark, which is that Fox and its reporters and commentators would have had to acted with actual malice toward them. That is, that they knew that what they were saying about Dominion was untrue, or they did something to kind of go out of their way not to know it. They were willfully ignorant. They stuck their, head in the sand as report after report came through that Dominion was not doing that. And Dominion has very good lawyers, and they're going to try to meet that high standard. And I think that Fox is really in trouble. And at some point, I think they're going to settle. They're going to issue a huge retraction that they got bad information and that nothing untoward happened at Dominion. And I think Dominion will be able to get back in business vigorously like it was. I think they already are. And I think they'll be able to sell a lot of their machines because there's nothing wrong with their machines. And I think people will see that this was totally made up. It's scarier when you have something like a product which is disparaged, a consumer product, and people are scared to buy it and they don't keep up with the news. But the people who are going to be buying Dominion machines, they'll keep up with the news. If you're like the Secretary of State of Georgia, or you're the president of a country that's thinking of buying Dominion machines for your elections, those people are going to get the message. So I don't think they've done the harm that you would to a consumer product. You get what I mean? If it were a type of
I get what you mean, but I also think that they're in that business, and I'm sorry, I think there's a stink on them. But we could differ on that, and that's why I like talking to you, because you suggest that the case has to be made legally, which is really yes, where it has to be made. But you also make the point, and I think this is really important. This is why I wanted to mention the Sean Hannity thing, that they have to know. You're saying they have to prove in court that Fox News Channel and others knew at the time that they were perpetuating a lie, something that wasn't indeed true about Dominion voting and about the voter fraud. So here is why I mention it. While Fox News host Sean Hannity amplified claims about the 2020 election being rife with fraud, privately, it seems, he knew the allegations were bogus. Testifying under oath as part of a deposition, in this case brought by Dominion Voting Systems, it's the case we're talking about, Hannity said, I did not, this is a quote, I did not believe it for 1 second. When asked about the claims of fraud which continued to be made by former President Trump. Now, Hannity reportedly wasn't the only Fox News personality not to believe the false claims about the election. Many of the highest-ranking Fox people have admitted, again, under oath, that they never believed the Dominion lies. So again, I ask you, David Katz, once these things are entered into evidence, doesn't that indeed prove that they are guilty of a knowing defamation of Dominion?
Well, Dominion has to prove its case, and not proof beyond a reasonable doubt, but by the civil standard, more likely than not. There are various defenses, obviously, that Fox, that doesn't want to pay billions of dollars and that Hannity doesn't want to pay out of his pocket, are going to make. Apparently, there's so much evidence they can't make that defense. So I think this is the defense. I'm not saying I agree with it, but I think this is the defense that it was being claimed by the president. It was the top of the news, and Fox, fair and balanced, they're reporting the news. And so they weren't. Their theory is going to be, Hannity's. I wasn't reporting that it was true. I was reporting that the president was saying it, and the president was saying vigorously that it was true, and the president was saying that here were the 4 or 5 ways. But as I say, I think they're going to settle because I think they're in a lot of trouble. And I think at the end of the day, people just they really, really went too far on this. They went beyond opinion, and they made statements that Dominion can prove were without foundation, and that they violated that standard, the famous New York Times v. Sullivan standard, because I do think Dominion at the end of the day will be held to be a public figure. They were so prominent in that business. They were a big publicly traded corporation. But I think Dominion's going to come out of it okay. And as
a practical matter, David, let me ask you. I'm sorry to interrupt, but as a practical matter, then that huge settlement, and it will be massive. I mean, if indeed it happens the way you're suggesting, who pays that? The insurance company? They have an insurance company that picks that up.
Yeah, I think these huge media companies have a big insurance company that pays for that. It's like anything else; their premium will go up. Right, because they got themselves in that pickle, and Hannity's been in other ones. Hannity had the guy who was like killed. He was killed in the park, but supposedly it had something to do with Democratic skullduggery.
Oh yeah,
and,
of course.
The poor people lost their son, and then on top of that, to have all those lies told about it. I think Hannity had to pay a large sum for that, and of course Fox had to pay all of the women who were sexually harassed by some of the very top people at Fox.
Yeah. The check writing arm of Fox News Channel has been pretty busy. Yeah. Dave, we got to wrap up.
They've gotten away with.
Yes, it is.
And they've really gotten away with.
I also would say that when you talk about Sean Hannity and deniability, you'll remember that Sean Hannity claimed that COVID was a hoax. It was a Democrat, that they made too big a deal out of it, and that the Democrats were making a big deal out of the failings of the administration on COVID because they were trying to make political hay of COVID, and COVID was not the threat that the Democrats said it was.
And this is their new hoax.
So anyway, I just think this may... him backing and filling, and Fox News Channel backing and filling, is a tried and true route. Anyway, David Katz, you're so cool to join us. Thank you. Happy holidays to you, pal. And we'll talk to you in the new year. I guess you're off next year, but next week. But we'll talk to you in the new year.
If you need me next week, I'll actually be around. I'll be in New York City visiting my 91-year-old mother.
Wow, that's so cool. Yeah. Well, then let's try to get that organized. I love it.
I'd
All
love
right,
to
see you,
join
David.
you from New York City. And the last time I was there, the machine worked better, right? My camera worked better there than it does here. But please send me Tony for Christmas, and a wonderful holiday to everybody out there.
Okay, you got it. See you, David Katz. Thanks again. Love it.
The Mark Thompson Show.
How about it for Steve Moskowitz, everybody? Steve joins us live now. And Steve, it is so cool to have you. We were rolling around about the taxes in the last hour.
Well, and I just love talking about taxes. It's funny when people get introduced to me and somebody says, "Oh, Steve loves talking about taxes." They think they're joking. I really do love talking about taxes.
Well, it's interesting that we're talking about taxes in the presidency. I mean, you just know this territory so well. But it's interesting that there is a mandatory audit of the president that's supposed to go down every year. They did it with Obama for 8 years. We were just talking about it with David Katz. And they didn't do it with Donald Trump for the first 2 years. And then the question becomes
president and vice president.
So there you have it. So these public officials, is it fair, do you think, in your judgment, to look at their taxes once they are in office?
I'm going to say no, because I'm looking at it not politically, strictly as a tax attorney.
Mm-hmm.
And it is so sensitive, and it's private. And the problem is when you go on a slippery slope. Let's take a look at the income tax return in itself. Our income taxes, as we know, it started in March 1st, 1913. And contrary to popular belief, I was not in practice at the time. And it came in as was called a tax on the wealthy. And the top tax rate at that time was 6%. And in order to be in the 6% tax bracket, Mark, you had to be making, remember, this is in 1913 dollars, over $500,000 in 1913 dollars. It was a very selective tax, really only on a few people.
Wow.
And look at where it is today.
No. I think we're seeing now, particularly in the Trump returns, nothing that's surprising from the standpoint of what looks to be some questionable. You've got to
there's an old
concede
saying
questionable deductions. I mean, come on.
Well, sure. There's an old saying in law school they teach you when you first come in. They say, hard facts make bad law. Sometimes you can look at some individual and say, well, he's done something and the action you should take. But the problem is, when you set that principle, it affects everybody. It's like when you deal with, police interaction with the citizens and what's the acceptable level of force. And, there's really different if somebody is pointing a sawed-off shotgun at somebody else, or somebody is questioning, well, do you have the right to do this or not? And it's difficult. It's a difficult question, and it's political, and people really have different beliefs. But I'm looking at it just as a tax attorney and what that means, and also the concern where the things really do morph into each other, like the tax returns when they started out, in 1913. Look where it is today. That's the problem, because once you chip away at it, then it's the next. And you know that from so many areas of life. Once you change one thing, you change something else. And, having a lawyer's mind, I can certainly make a good argument for something. But the tax return itself doesn't tell you nearly as much as you need, because what happens is, what if the person lied on the tax return? It's a big allegation against former President Trump. What if all the income's not reported? What about the deductions? If you just look at the tax return, if you took the head of the IRS and he looked at President Trump's tax return and me, and we're both looking at his tax return, both of us say, well, in order to determine if this is right or not, we need a lot more information. Where's the bank accounts? Where's the receipts? Where's this? Where's that? And then you have to go, and suppose you see that somebody took a trip to Hawaii. Well, did somebody write off a vacation, which is not allowed? Or did somebody have a business trip over there, which is fine? So then you have to get into what was the purpose. There's so much you have to get into. And that's just a simple return. Basically a simple return. You go to the level of somebody that makes it to President of the United States. I'm going to make the wild guess that their return is fairly complex. So in order to be fair to both sides, a tremendous amount of support and auditing that would have to be done. So it's at what point is it really meaningful? It's like, if you disclose something to me in detail in another language, well, okay, here it is, but I don't understand it. So now I need somebody to translate it for me. And that's what you have with the taxes. And again, even if a tax guy is looking at it, there's so much you need to know to see, is this valid or not?
Steve, the guy committed, let's just cut the crap. The guy committed in tremendous tax fraud, and you can see it at first glance.
But I'm a defense attorney, Mark.
I get it, but the guy, if you look at the write-offs, they're for companies that didn't even, he has $128 million worth of write-off for a company that doesn't even exist. It doesn't sell anything. I mean, it's like, my God, it's so transparent.
So again, I'm a defense attorney, and we're not judgmental. We are not judgmental. That's part of being a defense attorney.
That's why I want.
You did what? Our job
is
to help you. It's, for example, if you're a criminal attorney and somebody's an axe murderer, your job is to help them. Now, most people really wouldn't want to help axe murderers, but that's the job you do here.
That's why I love, just to bring us around, Steve Moskowitz for you. Reach him at 888-TAX-DEAL. You heard him. Hey, Mark, I'm a defensive. My clients, I defend. 888-TAX-DEAL, 888-TAXDEAL. You can also reach him online, MoskowitzLLP.com, MoskowItz, MoskowItzLLP.com. You're the best, Steve. Thanks so much, pal.
You too, Mark. Thanks so much.
All right. Yeah, good stuff. Steve Moskowitz. Good. Yeah.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I wonder if we can do a turbo newscast. I have Belinda waiting.
We can and we shall. And I will say about
stupid.
Steve Moskowitz, if he can find a way to defend Trump, like, I know I'm easy to defend, right? Like, if he can make that case, he's golden for anybody else.
Oh, that's really terrific. Yeah. Somebody asked, I think, during the conversation, what can be done criminally charging those, or,
the IRS,
aren't there crimes, the IRS, for not auditing Trump in the first 2 years? We talked about that with David Katz. So go back and just to watch that little bit of the conversation with David Katz, just like in the last 7 minutes or so, and I think your answer is there. Belinda is waiting. We'll get to quickie news, and then it's the Planet Stupid as we continue. Mark Thompson Show.
Lord knows I'm good at the quickie. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888
What?
Tax Deal. A one-time crypto king is being released on a $250 million bail. This after Sam Bankman-Fried, founder and former CEO of FTX, arrived in New York after agreeing to be extradited from the Bahamas. Billions of dollars vanished when the crypto firm imploded suddenly last month. He denies FTX misappropriated customer funds. Ukrainian President Zelenskyy returning to his country in good spirits. President Biden announcing the U.S. will send Ukraine a Patriot missile defense system as part of a new assistance package. FCC looking at issuing its largest fine ever for a robocall scam that targeted millions of customers. I think we all got a call from these guys. The commission said the auto warranty scam made more than 5 billion calls to more than 550 million numbers over the span of just 3 months in 2021. The fine would be $300 million, as officials say Roy Cox Jr. and Michael Aaron Jones ran the operation that included international cohorts in Panama and in Hungary.
What was the thing that they did? I mean, I know we all got the calls, but what was the violation of law?
Well, it was a scam. Whatever they're selling with the auto warranty.
I said with the auto warranty. I mean, my warranty wasn't really up. Is that what you're telling me?
Your warranty had not expired.
Oh my!
What?
You didn't need a new one. And if you sent money to those two yahoos, you sayonara, sucker.
Oh my gosh, who knew? That's right.
Sayonara, sucker. There's never been anything like this.
Okay, anyway, go ahead.
There's a former Roanoke Park police officer expected to be arraigned on new federal charges today. His name is Joseph Huffaker. He's accused of extorting cash and drugs from drivers that he stopped for violations along Highway 101 near the Sonoma-Mendocino County border. He's been indicted on new charges, including impersonating a federal officer, falsifying records, aiding and abetting. Last year, he was indicted on committing extortion and extortion under the color of law charges. He was a Roanoke Park police officer from 2012 to 2019, now facing as many as 60 years behind bars. At least 30 families here in Northern California are in need of a new place to live just before Christmas. Their homes have now been deemed unsafe after the earthquake this week in the Mendocino-Humboldt County area. It was a 6.4 near Humboldt County. Crews still assessing the damage, and there are still thousands of people without water. Weed enthusiast Afro Man has announced that he is running for president.
Where are my weed smokers at?
I knew you'd love it.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I have a picture.
He's running for, what is he running for?
He's running for president, as a matter of fact. There he is.
Stay at home and get baked.
No, he's wearing a fur. That's disgusting. Ugh, that's disgusting.
He is Afro Man. He's announced for president of the U.S. in 2024 on Instagram. He's got his picture of him with the U.S. flag, his hand over his heart, and
the fur on. It's disgusting.
Fur. Let's hope it's a faker.
It's not. It's not
citing
fake.
rising inflation, a struggling economy, corporate politicians, and other reasons for running for office. So there you have Afro Man. Trump, Afro Man, Biden. You know, your choices are endless.
I hate to vote against Afro Man, but he lost me with the fur. See you later.
Well, you know, and that's why. Yeah. Photos like this are important.
Right.
Afro Man,
Good day, sir.
You are out of here.
That's
and this report is sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz for more than 30 years. Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for everybody, individuals, businesses, doesn't matter. 888 Tax Deal is the number to call. Moskowitz LLP, the website. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Who's Mark Thompson?
It is our last few minutes, and I'm excited every Thursday to talk to this lady, Belinda Weymouth. I'm just so behind on time. I want to get rid of the open. Is that bad to do?
No, go right to her.
Yeah, I want to get right to Belinda. Belinda, hello. Hello, how have you been? It's our segment called "It's the Planet Stupid." Look at her; she's so beautiful in her headshot, but she is beautiful in real life as well. You've just come back from the woods, I think, is what I was told.
Yes, I've been in the Los Padres National Forest. I've been right out there on planet Earth, and man, is she beautiful.
Yeah, it's funny. You're our eco journalist, and you really do love that that oneness with nature thing.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking about what you've been through in the last year as we finish this year. I mean, what a difference this year has made. I mean, a year ago, what was going on with you? You were fighting cancer, and it was a brutal fight.
Yeah, it's so amazing what a difference a year makes. And I hope this will be a feel-good story for our listeners. So as you are really well aware, Mark, and some of our people who've, been with us, through thick and thin know, I've been through this crazy battle. I got diagnosed with multiple myeloma cancer in July of 2021. And ironically, it was the last time I was in the camper that Jake and I had bought to, get out there. We call it our NEV, our Nature Exploration Vehicle. And we had this fantastic holiday, but the whole time I had this terrible pain in my head. And it turned out there was this massive tumor growing, in my face, right behind my left eye and my cheekbone, blah, blah, blah. And it was, I had multiple myeloma cancer, which is cancer of the white blood cells. And I went through all this chemo for the back half of 2021. And then last December, at this time, I was 9 days out from having a stem cell transplant, which is, if anyone is listening who's been through one, it is brutal. They give you this really hardcore old school chemo, and it not only, exterminates every blood cell in your body, the bad ones, all the white, all the red, all your platelets, it kills everything. And then they put the stem cells in a week later, and boom, 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 like the submarine on emergency power, you come back to life. But you get super sick. So this time a year ago, I'm in hospital, feeling very unwell, and my hair is coming out by the handful. Yeah. And it's gnarly. And I don't get out till Christmas Day. They had promised me that they thought I would get out before, but I, had a really intense reaction, as most people do who have this this procedure. So Christmas Day, I was supposed to be out by 10. I got out at 1, and I came home, and I spent last year Christmas Day sort of lying, half reclined on the sofa, saying, to my daughter and my husband, this is as much as I could do, guys. This is it for today. Yeah. And then cut to now, I'm back in the NEV, the Nature Exploration Vehicle. We're up in the Los Padres National Forest. It's gorgeous. We're hiking. It's freezing. We've got this fantastic maritime heater inside our camper. I'm surfing again. I'm just so well, and I'm super duper lucky, super duper grateful. I just am such a believer in modern medicine. And I know I've told you before, Mark, that, there's a whole thing in the US about our healthcare and how expensive it is. But man, when you get sick, if you have insurance, it kicks in this incredible way. And I have been so well taken care of, and, had cutting edge drugs, everything I've needed. And I've had this huge bounce back, and I'm me again, so
yeah, let me just ask you, because you mentioned the insurance. I hope that you can always, punt this question if you want to, but what kind of insurance covered all of these different aggressive strategies that they instituted toward treating your cancer?
So we went, through Covered California, Obamacare. And, the biggest thing that he achieved for us was you couldn't be turned down for a pre-existing condition, because I had one lot of insurance, Cobra, that ran out, and then we had to go on the open market. And if it had been that, hey, if you have a pre-existing condition, we don't have to take you, I would have been, really screwed, Mark. So that was just huge. Absolutely huge. And, I'm talking to a young woman in New Zealand who has the same cancer, and they have a national health system, which unfortunately doesn't cover this miracle drug that I'm on, that is an absolute game changer for multiple myeloma. And so, you know, number one,
so
I'm
she
super
will not
grateful.
get the she won't get the treatment that
Yep.
that really got you better.
Yeah. And it, oh my God. I mean, it really breaks my heart, because when I was talking to her and she explained, like, you know, we don't have, it's called daratumumab, and it's this incredible immunotherapy. It came online in 2015. It does what your own immune system does. You know, it's these little, you know, they're little proteins, and they're white. They're a Y-shaped molecule, and they literally run in there and they grab the bad clonal white blood cells, suffocate them, and then the Y of the tail sends up a bat signal to your own good white blood cells. Hey, we've got a baddie, come over here and help us. And in New Zealand, and I just found out in Canada, I'm about to talk to another multiple myeloma sufferer in Canada.
Now, are you on some network? How do you end up with these people who you're in touch with? It's like a support network, or what is it?
Well, I hate to say, you know, well, the first one, the woman in New Zealand, was social media, because last summer, you know, in July of this year, I was hiking in a national park in New Zealand, and I made a little video, and not to brag, but I said, hey, this is me living with multiple myeloma. I just did an 8-hour hike yesterday. I hiked 6 hours today. This is me living with multiple myeloma. And I didn't mean to show off. I just meant to say, like, look, this is, you know, I just have a managed chronic condition now because of this amazing.
Well, you were also, I felt like that video was an empowerment video. Like, you could look at it and go, yeah, I can do that too, if you are similarly afflicted, you know?
Yeah. And so what happened was this woman, Nicola, reached out to me, and she said, hey, this is Nicola. I'm from Myeloma, New Zealand. Can you help us? And I was like, what? You know, help? Yeah, sure, of course. You know, we got on the phone. She told me what was up, that when she was 41, after having 4 years of symptoms, she was diagnosed with multiple myeloma and told that she had 10 to 12 years to live. And honestly, Mark, I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. I'm like, what? What are you saying? You know, and in New Zealand, if you're rich enough, you can buy your own daratumumab at the, you know, the expense of $200,000 a year. Wow. Or if you, yeah, not cheap, and it's probably costs more here. And if you have the right kind of health insurance, which doesn't, you know, sort of preclude you if you have a pre-existing condition before, you know, say you try to get with the insurance once you've already got the cancer, you might be able to, you know, if you're lucky enough, have a provider who will cover the DARA. But for most New Zealanders who have it, it's a death sentence. And, you know, that is horrifying to me. And so that was social media. And then cut to, I've got a friend who right now has got 3 friends with multiple myeloma. You know, it used to be this really rare cancer.
Jeez,
you know, as they say now, 1 in 3 of us gets cancer. And she put me in touch with another New Zealander who happens to live in Toronto. And we haven't managed to speak yet. We've been emailing. He sounds pretty sick. And what he was describing in Canada, like, you know, we really put our national health system first. We absolutely believe in it. If we're going to use private, we would, you know, go across the border into the States. But otherwise, we absolutely rely on our national health service. But they, you know, he's not on DARA. And they get more than one stem cell transplant there, like they do in New Zealand. You know, you have a stem cell transplant, you're okay for a certain amount of time, but you're not getting the miracle drug I'm on. You have a relapse, and then you have to sign up for another one of these super brutal procedures, which, you know, I'm like, oh man, you know, that also was, you know, a punch in the stomach when I heard that people were, you know, having to get more than one of, you know, these procedures, because it was brutal, Mark. I mean, I'm not going to pussyfoot around.
I remember the videos that you posted. I mean, it was just brutal to even see, and I'm sure that you saved some of the brutal stuff, you know, from our eyes. It was a really what an ordeal. So to talk to you now a year later and to hear you happy and healthy. Oop, I don't know what that was. I don't know what that is. Is that a? Are you hearing that, or is it just on my end? Maybe
it's like someone brushed against a mic or something.
Yeah. Anyway,
I blame me.
No, okay. God, that was brutal.
We don't ever blame you, Belinda. You are beloved on this
anyway,
program.
you are beloved, and everybody is very excited. Belinda is a rock star and famous actress, by the way. It is true. The one thing about Belinda, and then we'll wrap up, and wish you a happy holiday. They really do Christmas in a big way where you grew up, New Zealand, right?
You know, it's really funny Christmas because, you know, I'm from the Southern Hemisphere, so it is sunny and warm, and we spend Christmas on the beach. And we used to, you know, because we're a British colony who didn't kick the British out like you guys did. You know, we used to have, there were Christmas trees with snow on them. And then eventually one day we went, that's not our reality. So now, in New Zealand, Christmas card has got, a pot plant. And by a pot plant, I mean, marijuana with, red balls on it and a kiwi, because we're in, we go to the beach on Christmas Day.
Oh, are there a lot of stoners there in New Zealand?
I'd say.
Doesn't anybody but a weed?
No. No.
We have a good percentage. They grow some, there's some pretty intense weed growing there. So yeah, there's some pot smoking going on for sure, man. I mean, come on. We're with
for
it.
Sure, man.
Yeah.
Where are my weed smokers at?
Well, they're in the Southern Hemisphere too. All right, Belinda, it's great talking to you. We wish you well. We have nothing but good wishes of the season for you. Sadly, the world is coming to an end, but I'd like to review how it'll come to an end with you and I. You can tell me all the good news, and then I, of course, will ruin that good news with some bad news. So that's our tradition. That's our dance. I look forward to doing more of it in the new year.
Yeah, well, we could have a wrap up of, what 2022 has, been for the planet. But hey, guys, I'm in just so much gratitude. I love you. And I just want to wish you all a fabulous holiday season. And thank you for the love, the support, the everything. And I wouldn't say I was a famous actress. I had a career, but let's not get ahead of ourselves, guys.
Well, we can review it. I think you'll probably weigh in at a pretty good level in terms of accomplishments when it comes to the evaluation, which I will provide next Thursday. Now, Thursday of next week, you will be with us then to look back at the year, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think we should definitely do it because, this year has been huge and we've got to thank you.
Oh. All right. Well,
she went away for a minute.
Belinda, we love you. You've lost you, but we will look forward to next time.
We do love her. She's great.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I want to thank David for catching the date. Thank you, David. I don't know who you are.
It's my husband.
But thank you, David, your husband of Kim, who caught the date being wrong.
Yep.
Thank you to all of my colleagues. I couldn't do this show without you. Kim and Tony.
Kim, how are you?
And Tony, who...
Thanks, Tony.
Neither one of you caught the date. I blame you. Albert's not even here. Who can I blame?
Whoever is producing this thing has no idea what they're doing.
I'm kind of
I
think I could have done it myself.
You can take it.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Tony.
Thanks, Tony.
Well, we've done a lot today. I will mention again that we are desperate, sadly, for the... I was watching Nikki's show, as I do every day, yesterday, and she made the point, and it's true, that, she's able to monetize still. Everything's cool over in Nikki land, okay? And it's pretty exciting. She's also doing merch, which I really like. So that's pretty cool. I like to see the growth of my colleagues, and she's doing a great job over there. We have merch.
Your merch sales are growing. Look at all that stuff.
Yeah, getmarkmerch.com. Look at all of that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying our merch is better than anybody else's, but it is the best merch. That's all there is to it. Yeah, but it's not a competition, but if it were, we would win. That's all I'm trying to say. But it's not, so it's fine. No, I'm kidding, of course, but there are good, fun things for you there. The long sleeve tee is a big seller and a crowd pleaser. Yeah. The unisex long sleeve T-shirt. Yes. And I might encourage you also to look into some of the smaller items, the little stocking stuffer type items.
Yeah. You can buy a Movado watch in Sam's.
No, not that. There's not a Movado watch there. But you can see the touch tool. You can see, look at the Christmas ornament. Yeah. I don't know if the Christmas ornament's moved or not, but there's a ceramic one. And there's one of the mug. The mugs, of course, are there. And there's one of me looking happy. And that was probably a picture taken before we were demonetized. And then there's all that other stuff. You can knock around on the website and see it. So check it out.
My big plan is to get
the caffeinated note cube.
That's funny. To get a Nikki Maduro mug to use on this show and a Mark Thompson mug to use on the Nikki Maduro show.
That's great. I think that's cool.
Little cross promotion there. Little loving.
I ordered a throw pillow, and I think that is coming. Yeah, I ordered a Mark Thompson show throw. I have to buy it just like everybody else.
Yeah.
But a lot of fun. The site's fun. And there's other, I think we got a lot of fun merch, so thank you. I'll remind you, though, we are demonetized. So if you find it in your heart, you can, the way you contribute, can't do super sticker, can't do super chat. The donation has to go to themarkthompsonshow.com. It'll say contribute. When you go there, click on contribute, and you can leave us a one-time PayPal hit. You can leave us a monthly thing, however you want to do it. But many of you have really ridden in like the cavalry to help us, because this month is a free fall. We have no YouTube monetization. So appreciate all of you. And we do put your names at the end of the show. And as I was saying, we'll get with Tony and get the list together to acknowledge you on the air as well. Many of you who have made substantial contributions. So thank you to everybody. Thank you. Yeah. It's cool to have Dan Ashley on yesterday with
big shout out.
Yeah, it was really fun. Yeah.
I loved seeing his room with all those guitars signed and the knight that he has there standing in the corner.
Yeah, George or whatever his name is. I forget what the knight's name was. But tomorrow I will mention to you we have Tyler Hilton. Tyler Hilton is a major star.
Google it.
Google the damn name if you don't know Tyler Hilton, and you will see
a hot guy.
A hot guy from One Tree Hill. He's a brilliant singer, and he will sing tomorrow. Also, Mark Thompson, the other Mark Thompson, comes back to introduce him. He's going to join us in the mix. Nikki Maduro begins her show over on the Nikki Maduro channel.
Yeah.
She has holiday food taste tests, sesame labels, anger allergy sufferers, Zelenskyy speech reaction, YouTube child star investigation, winners and losers of lottery tickets. What? White elephant gifts?
White elephant gifts.
She's got a lot of stuff going on.
Why are you yelling?
I'm enthusiastic. That's all. I want to thank Tony for stepping up today. Tomorrow, excited about Tyler Hilton to kick off the show.
I'm Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody. And until tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.